Imagine sitting down for coffee with, a brand new English-speaking friend.
Oh, that's always a fun, if slightly stressful situation.
Right, exactly. So you're having a nice time, but you want to tell them you don't really feel like going to a crowded party later.
Yeah, because you just have nothing to do and feel a bit tired.
Exactly. But instead, because of like one tiny hidden grammar mistake, you look them right in the eye and accidentally tell them, I am a monster with a terrible personality.
Oh, no. It actually happens way more often than you might think, and it
Mm.
completely derails the conversation.
It really does. Welcome to a special deep dive right here on Tin's English channel. Today we are unpacking the psychological landmines and, well, the beautiful moments of connection that come from expressing your feelings in a new language.
Yeah, which is a huge topic.
It is. And for those listening who are learning English, we are keeping our pace nice and steady today. We're using clear words, but we are definitely diving into some very deep adult concepts.
Because mastering emotional vocabulary is not, it's not about passing a grammar test.
Right. It's about life.
Exactly. It is about survival and eventually connection. When you learn a new language as an adult, you are used to being a complex person in your native tongue.
Oh, absolutely. You can express subtle frustration or deep joy or, just mild annoyance.
Yeah. But suddenly, in a new language, you are stripped of those tools. You feel very vulnerable.
So true.
So learning how to accurately describe your internal world is really the only way to stop just surviving in English and start actually building genuine relationships.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can navigate complex adult relationships, we have to look at the absolute foundation.
The building blocks.
Right. We have a set of lesson notes here that point out the two most common ways to start talking about feelings. I am and I feel.
Ah, yes. The classics.
Now, on the surface, I am happy and I feel happy look like they do, well, the exact same job. But there is a mechanical difference under the hood, right?
Very subtle but powerful difference, yeah. When you use the phrase I feel, you are strictly talking about this exact moment in time.
Like the present reality.
Exactly. I feel happy means right now, in this very second. But when you use the phrase I am, you introduce a little bit of ambiguity.
How so?
Well, I am happy can mean right now, sure, or it can describe your general baseline personality over a long period of time.
Oh, I see. So it is the difference between the daily weather report and the overall climate.
Oh, I like that analogy. Yes.
Like, I feel is the daily weather. Right now it is raining. Right now I feel tired. It changes. But I am is the climate. I am a happy person. That is the climate, my personality, even if it happens to be raining today.
That's a great way to put it.
But wait, if I am represents the permanent climate, why do we say I am tired? Because tired is definitely temporary. I mean, I am not a permanently tired person. Well, most days anyway.
Right, yeah. That is where English requires you to rely on context. I am functions as a bridge. It connects you, the subject, to the state you are in.
Okay, making a connection.
Yeah. Sometimes that state is permanent, like I am tall. Sometimes it is temporary, like I am tired. Because that double meaning I am is really the workhorse of the English language.
That makes sense.
But I feel is much more specific. It always signals a temporary internal physical or emotional sensation.
And that brings us directly to the survival states. The lesson notes prioritize 6 specific words for beginners to master before anything else.
Let's hear them.
Happy, sad, tired, hungry, full, and thirsty. My question is, why limit it to these 6?
That's a good question.
If we are adults with complex emotions, why spend time practicing basic biological states like hungry or thirsty?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it comes down to a concept in linguistics called the affective filter.
The affect filter, what is that?
It is essentially an invisible psychological wall that goes up when a learner feels anxious, stressed, or uncomfortable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and when that wall is up, your brain physically cannot absorb new language. And nothing puts that wall up faster than not being able to communicate your most urgent daily physical needs.
So if I am sitting in an English immersion class and my stomach is completely empty, but I don't know how to tell the teacher I need food, my anxiety spikes.
Exactly. You panic.
I cannot focus on the complex grammar lesson because my brain is flashing a huge biological warning sign.
Precisely. We sometimes joke about being hangry. You know, that combination of hungry and angry.
Oh, yeah, I get hangry all the time.
Right. But it highlights a real psychological truth. Our physical state heavily dictates our emotional state.
Wow, that's so true.
If you cannot communicate, I am hungry, or I am tired, or I am thirsty, you cannot establish a baseline of physical safety.
You're just in survival mode.
Exactly. Once you master those fundamental survival words, the affective filter lowers. You feel safe. And a safe brain is a brain that is ready to learn harder concepts.
So you have to build the foundation of the house before you try to paint the walls. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
So let's assume the foundation is strong. The learner feels physically safe, they have had lunch, they are no longer thirsty. Now, human interactions naturally trigger much stronger, more complex reactions. We are turning up the volume.
We are. And this is where the source material does something very strategic. It does not just hand you a random list of strong emotions.
Right, it doesn't just say, memorize these.
No, it groups them into contrasting pairs, opposites.
Like, excited versus nervous, angry versus scared, relaxed versus stressed. Why format the lesson this way? Is there like a cognitive advantage to learning a positive emotion right next to a challenging one?
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is that the human brain does not store vocabulary like a dictionary, just an alphabetical list of isolated words.
Okay, how does it store them?
It stores information in semantic networks, essentially webs of connected meaning. When you learn opposites together, you are actively drawing a mental map.
Like connecting two dots.
Yes, you create a conceptual anchor. If you are in the middle of a conversation and you suddenly forget the word for stressed, but your brain remembers the word relaxed, it can travel along that connected pathway to find the opposite.
Oh, that's brilliant.
You are giving your memory two paths to find the same concept.
That semantic network idea completely shifts how I view vocabulary memorization. It is not about just rote repetition, it is about building relationships between words.
Exactly, it's about connections.
So let's look at the first pair on this map, excited versus nervous. We use excited when we anticipate something wonderful, like packing bags for a holiday.
Or getting a birthday present, yeah.
Right. But nervous is what many people feel when they have to speak English in public. Sweaty hands, fast heartbeat, they feel like completely different experiences.
But here's the secret. Biologically, they are almost identical.
Wait, really? The physical reaction in the body is the same.
The physiological arousal is virtually indistinguishable.
That's
Whether you are excited about a roller coaster or nervous about a speech, your heart rate increases, your breathing gets shallow, and adrenaline floods your system.
So what's the difference then?
The only difference is the cognitive label your brain attaches to those physical sensations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If you focus on the potential for a bad outcome, your brain labels the feeling nervous. If you focus on the potential for a good outcome, your brain labels it excited.
So when a learner feels their heart racing before speaking English, they are not failing. Their body is just giving them extra energy to perform a task.
Exactly. And the notes touch on this beautifully. They suggest that feeling nervous simply means you care.
You care. I love that.
It is a profound psychological reframing. Many adult learners suffer from imposter syndrome. They feel like frauds because they cannot speak perfectly.
Yeah, that's so common.
They interpret their nervousness as proof that they shouldn't be speaking at all. But if we reframe that nervous energy as proof of their dedication, it changes the entire learning experience. You aren't scared, you are invested.
You aren't scared, you are invested. That is a powerful tool to bring into any classroom.
It really is.
The next pair in the notes is a bit heavier. Angry versus scared. I think of anger when sitting in terrible traffic. I think of fear or being scared when I see a massive spider on my bedroom wall.
Ugh, spiders, yes.
But the notes include a physical action here alongside the vocabulary. Taking a slow, deep breath in and breathing out.
It seems basic, but breathing exercises directly target the nervous system. When you experience anger or fear, your amygdala, which is the emotion center of the brain, takes over.
Right, the fight or flight response.
Exactly. And when that happens, the prefrontal cortex, which controls logic and language, essentially shuts down.
Which is terrible if you are trying to remember vocabulary in a second language.
Exactly. You physically lose access to the English words you studied. Taking a deep breath forces the parasympathetic nervous system to engage, which calms the body and turns the language centers of your brain back on.
So the deep breath isn't just to feel better, it is a mechanical requirement to find your words again.
Yeah.
Which leads perfectly to the final pair. Relaxed versus stressed. A Sunday morning with a cup of tea versus a Tuesday morning with an overwhelming deadline.
A very relatable pair.
Very. But let's look at the trap hiding right next to these complex emotions, the hook we mentioned at the very beginning of the show. The danger of telling someone you are a terrible monster.
Ah, yes. This is the ed versus ing suffix trap. It is one of the most common and most consequential mistakes in the English language.
Let's break down the mechanics. If I have nothing to do, I should say, I'm bored. B-O-R-E-D, the E-D ending.
Correct.
But if I use the ing ending and say I am boring, I have just insulted my own personality. I've told my friend that I am an uninteresting person to be around.
Yes, you've called yourself a dull person.
But what if I actually am trying to be self-deprecating? What if I want to admit that my personality is a bit dull? Can I use both?
You can, but you have to understand the line you're crossing. The rule is this.
Yeah.
Adjectives ending in ed describe the internal feeling of the subject.
Okay. Internal feeling.
Adjectives ending in ing describe the external cause of that feeling.
So the movie is boring. It is the cause. Therefore, I feel bored. The internal result. The spider is scary, the cause. Therefore, I am scared, the result.
Yes. So if you sit down and say, I am boring, you are grammatically positioning yourself as the cause of negative feelings in other people. You are saying, I cause boredom.
Ah, that's rough.
Yeah. Unless you are making a very specific self-aware joke about how dull your stories are, it will thoroughly confuse the person listening to you.
They'd probably be so awkward about it.
It would. They will likely try to comfort you and say, no, you aren't boring, when all you meant was that you had nothing to do.
It is a massive communication breakdown caused by 3 little letters. But, it pales in comparison to the hidden philosophical trap that trips up almost every single language learner at some point.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
The battle between the verb to have and the verb to be.
Yes. This is where grammar reveals the cultural philosophy behind a language.
In so many languages, like Spanish, French, German, it is completely standard to express an emotion by saying you possess it. You say the equivalent of I have hunger, I have fear, or I have stress.
Very common, yes.
But the lesson notes firmly warn learners, do not use the verb have for feelings in English. You cannot say I have tired. You must say I am tired. Why does English absolutely insist on this structure?
This raises an important question. When a language uses have for an emotion, it treats that feeling almost like a physical object, like a heavy suitcase you pick up and carry with you.
Okay, I can picture that.
You possess the stress. You hold the hunger. But English treats emotion differently. By demanding the be verb like I am stressed or I am sad, English frames the emotion not as an object you carry, but as a temporary state of being that you inhabit.
That feels like a contradiction, though. Saying I am sad sounds so much more intense than I have sadness.
Yeah.
If I say I am, it feels like it defines my whole identity, which we discussed earlier with the climate analogy.
It does sound intense on the surface, but think about the mechanical nature of a state of being. You visit a state and then you leave it. You are currently in a state of stress, much like you might be in a room.
Oh, I like that. A room.
But you are not holding on to it. It is a subtle philosophical difference, but it completely changes the relationship to the emotion. It implies movement. The state of sadness is a place you're standing right now, but you will walk out of it eventually.
Emotions are temporary rooms we visit, not heavy bags we carry around. Knowing that the grammar itself implies the feeling will pass is a strangely comforting framework.
It really is.
Especially when navigating the frustration of learning a new language. You don't have frustration, you are just temporarily visiting it.
Beautifully said. And there's one more structural trap to avoid here. The reflexive pronoun trap.
Ah, yes. The translation trap, where people try to map their native grammar directly onto English and end up saying, I feel myself happy.
Right. In some languages, emotions are reflexive. You do the feeling to yourself, but English prioritizes efficiency here. You drop the myself.
Just cut it out completely.
Yep. The subject and the feeling connect directly. Just, I feel happy. Adding the reflexive pronoun creates unnecessary distance and sounds deeply unnatural to a native speaker.
So we drop the baggage, we drop the myself, and we just inhabit the feeling.
Exactly.
Up until this point, we have been completely focused on the internal landscape. How to map our own survival needs, how to define our complex emotions, how to avoid describing ourselves as boring monsters.
Boring monsters, yeah.
But language doesn't exist in a vacuum. It requires another person.
Which requires empathy. The ability to understand and appropriately respond to the emotional state of the person sitting across from you.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The lesson notes move from self-expression to reaction. Let's look at reacting to good news.
Okay.
If an English-speaking friend gets a promotion at work or they finally buy a house, the standard phrase is, "I am so happy for you."
Notice the preposition for. You are not just happy in general. You are dedicating your happiness to their success.
Ah, sharing the joy.
Yes, it is a way of sharing their emotional state. And if someone achieves something very difficult, you elevate the phrase to, I am proud of you.
No, "I am proud of you" always sounded to me like something a parent says to a child. Can friends really use that with each other without sounding condescending?
It depends entirely on the context, but yes, it is heavily used among peers in modern English to acknowledge hard work.
Okay, good to know.
If your friend studies for months and passes a difficult exam, saying, I am proud of you, acknowledges the struggle they went through. It validates their effort, not just the result.
Validating the struggle is a great way to put it. But empathy isn't just about celebrating. Often it is about sitting with someone in their pain.
The harder part of connection, yeah.
When someone shares bad news, maybe they're very sick or they lost something valuable like their phone, the notes give us two options. I feel bad for you and, well, I am sorry.
Right.
Here's my problem with I am sorry. If my friend loses their phone, I did not steal it. I didn't break it. I have zero liability. Why am I apologizing for an action I didn't commit?
This is perhaps the most confusing cultural quirk for learners to grasp. In English-speaking cultures, the phrase, I am sorry, operates on two completely different tracks.
Two tracks. Okay.
Track one is liability and guilt. If you spill coffee on someone's laptop, you say, I am sorry to admit fault.
Right. Cause and effect. I broke it. I apologize.
But track two is purely emotional solidarity. When your friend's dog dies or they lose their phone, saying, I am sorry, has absolutely nothing to do with guilt.
So what does it mean?
It translates emotionally to, it causes me sorrow to see you in pain. It is a profound tool for empathy that separates the action from the feeling. You are not taking the blame, you are offering a verbal hug.
It causes me sorrow to see you in pain. So if someone says, I'm sorry you were sick, I shouldn't look at them suspiciously like they purposely infected me. I should just accept the verbal hug.
Exactly. Rejecting that apology by saying why, it's not your fault, actually breaks the connection. They are trying to build a bridge to your pain, and rejecting the phrase tears the bridge down.
That is a critical piece of cultural fluency. Understanding that the grammar of empathy in English sometimes uses the language of guilt.
It's tricky, but essential.
We have unpacked a tremendous amount of psychology and grammar today. We moved from the basic biological survival states to lower the affective filter. We mapped contrasting pairs to build a resilient memory network.
We reframed nervous energy into investment.
Yes. We navigated the danger zones of ED versus ING and the philosophical weight of the to be verb.
And we learned how to extend a bridge of empathy to others, recognizing that true fluency is a shared experience.
To everyone listening, we know that integrating these concepts takes deliberate practice. To help build that muscle memory right now, we're going to do a very brief repetition exercise.
Love this idea.
We will say 5 key emotional concepts from today. Do not worry about spelling them in your head. Just focus on how the words feel in your mouth and say them out loud after us. Here we go. Excited.
Excited.
Nervous.
Nervous.
Relax.
Relaxed.
Relaxed.
Proud.
Scared. Excellent. Getting the physical sensation of the English words into your jaw and vocal cords is half the battle.
As you continue studying, I want to leave you with one final concept to consider. Psychologists sometimes talk about the second language ego.
Second language ego. What is that?
It is the idea that when you learn how to express your feelings in a new language, you might actually experience those emotions differently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Does claiming I am angry in English feel a little less overwhelming than saying it in your native language? Because English gives you a slight psychological distance, you might find that you can handle complex emotions more calmly when you speak them in a new tongue. Pay attention to how the language changes the feeling itself.
A new language giving you a new lens on your own internal world. It is not just translation, it is transformation. We want to see how you are applying this new framework to your own lives.
Language only exists in community, which means we want to hear from you.
It is time for our question of the day on Tim's English channel.
We invite you to use your semantic network right now.
Think about the climate of your personality and the temporary states you visit. The question is, what makes you feel happy?
Drop down into the comments section. To practice the grammar we discussed today, start your sentence firmly with the internal state. I feel happy when.
Tell us what brings you joy. Maybe it is, I feel happy when I finally understand an English grammar rule, or I feel happy when I sit with a cup of tea on Sunday. We cannot wait to read them. Thank you for trusting us with your time today and for doing the hard work of learning to connect. Keep practicing, keep analyzing your words, and we will see you on the next deep dive.